Greetings, friends. I'm Ananda Xenia Shakti. I'm beaming in from my hotel room in Goa, India, where I came here to sing in a festival. And I'm here to discuss with you what the angelic realm have shared with us for this particular extremely potent full moon. So this is your quantum awakening session. Please open and enjoy. Take a few deep breaths. Start to become aware of your whole body, because remember, the type of spirituality that we're cultivating at this time is the spirituality of embodiment, of merging heaven and earth and becoming this new earth, heaven and earth being. So whenever we step into spiritual awakening situations, we want to bring ourselves as deeply connected to the physical, to the body as possible, and infuse that, or better said, even awaken that more subtle energy that lives within all of us, well, fully embodied. And so this particular transmission is speaking about this in a really unique way, and I do hope you enjoy it.
Forgetting love is the path to remembering it. This is the journey of the human being, the exchange between forgetting and remembering. The superconscious being no longer resides in the pain of forgetting. They have created a home in the eternal joy and bliss of remembering. And this is not a stagnant place. It is a very unique reality in which one experiences the bliss of remembering without the need for the suffering of forgetting. As a collective, you are embarking on this royal journey. And yes, there are many paths to walk in your collective soul, to find within oneself the full permission to live the remembering. But do not be daunted by this seeming grand evolutionary journey and mystery. Please accept that creation, Great Source itself, is unfathomable. And so hand in hand, with each step closer to a more embodied and empowered expression of the light you are, will rise the feelings of your smallness in the face of its enormity. This is not a disempowerment. It means you have come closer. And like any orgasmic experience, there is that contraction, that experience of something becoming very small, very tiny, before it explodes into the profound remembering of the glory. This is the way of the teaching of this mystery school. And dear souls, let it be a mystery. Allow your heart the incredible gift of including mystery as the perfection of your emotional and mental states as you step through this profound portal of reality. This will heal so many stories of feeling separated or lack of safety. And in your reflections of days gone by, you will see that all those who have been part of your stories and shared with you their pain were in their own ways trying to live a life that did not include mystery. And in their desperate need to control, they acted in ways that were not guided by wisdom, love, and mystery. This is a deep evolutionary time for your collective. And with transformation comes the worthy struggle, like the snake shedding its skin. Call yourself back to this understanding in your day-to-day process over and over again. Each time you find yourself in the distraction of believing that your discomfort is coming from the outside, there will be many outer experiences requiring your attention, and it will be very easy to feel that they are the source of the troubles at hand. And even with noble action towards those troubles at hand, the confusion around the source of the discomfort is akin to rejecting one's power. And we use this word very consciously. For there are family and ancestral patterns activated when this takes place. You are in a state of akin. And this is the old way, not of the new earth you are birthing. It is part of the forgetting and the remembering that each of you are walking as you discover your permission to remember where love lives. We bring you all love and all blessings, sacred children of the blessed self, and all love and all blessings for you to discover where your permission for remembering lives.
Greetings. Okay. This idea of forgetting love and remembering it as being the experience of being human. And I hope it makes sense to you what this means, the forgetting. The forgetting is any time that we are in any kind of tension, any kind of stress, any anger, grief, depression, all of the fear, all of these contracted experiences, we are forgetting the greater love that we are. Because the experiences of life, as they go through the different experiences of coming and going and giving us what we want or what we don't want, and all of the things that happen to us, are part of just the natural process of nature. If we observe nature in a tree, for instance, we see, okay, grows beautifully every year, though, in some way. It discharges, it drops its leaves, it has to go through a rebirthing process, and eventually it will get too old to continue existing. And this is the way that nature works. It is not tragic. We don't think of it as tragic when we see a tree, although sometimes we have deep attachments to trees. I do sometimes. But we do write all of it as something tragic when we are in this human experience. So much of even little things become, really deeply tragic to us because we feel disconnected from our remembering. We're not really remembering who we are. And that's what this big new earth shift is all about, is to ground us in the remembering of who we are. So they start straight off with this, speaking about this forgetting and the remembering as being part of the human experience. And they speak later about it is actually part of our evolutionary experience until we get to the point where we can find the inner permission to remember all the time. And the beautiful thing that they speak about the remembering, which I found, wow, like it just lit me up when I received it. It's like, okay, remembering. So I've remembered. So it feels like it's done. It's a done deed, not a done deed. Remembering is something that is vibrant. It's not stagnant. It's a continual state of the remembering. But, and I hope this isn't getting too like for the mind, it's not remembering because you've forgotten. It's actually, you're in the state of remembering. And it's almost like that state of remembering, you hit the refresh button and it refreshes itself. and it's a new state of remembering. And this is what the real state of this higher wisdom is, and they call this what the superconscious or superconscious beingness is like. It's in the state of remembering, but it's not just, okay, now I have remembered and nothing else is ever happening. This is not of new earth. This is not of this new paradigm. It is like, I remember, I remember, I remember, I remember, and that remembering never ends. This is the thing that is so incredibly fantastic about it, and that I feel so much joy in my heart at the thought of being in that place, because that remembering is so divine. And so to be in a state where it doesn't just become, okay, I've remembered and that's it. It just keeps on remembering. That freshness and that newness and that excitement and that beauty is happening all the time. So this is very important what they're speaking about. They're saying this path of forgetting and remembering is our way to the superconscious beingness of ourselves, the new earth beingness of ourselves, the heaven and earth beingness of ourselves, where we completely remember. And so what they're really encouraging us to do right now, okay, they said that we're on this, and that's a royal journey. I love this. So, there's so much talk about, the queen needs to sit in her throne, the king needs to sit in his throne, everything. Well, this is the royal journey, being in that state of continual remembering. The mystics, if you've studied any of the famous mystics, I have, I love it. They're not just like, okay, yes, I have it, I've got it now, it's done. They're like, they're in this mystical state of like, whoa, and now, and there's more, and there's more, and there's more, but it doesn't require them to forget to get there. So that's where we're evolving to. Now, how do we do it? They say, first of all, just remember that that's what we're doing. That's the very first place. Remember that when we are affected by the experiences, because clearly already we just had, a major experience in the Los Angeles area. Already we're being shown the level of dismantling that is going to be taking place. And please don't hear me as saying everything is going to burn up or it's all going to be tragic, but we are going through some massive, massive awakenings through a process of dismantling. Some of it is physical, some of it will be more emotional and structural, like infrastructures, but it's going to be potentially extremely distracting. And it's a catch-22, because the reality is that many of these experiences will require our attention, just like in LA, many people are sending donations and things, money and clothing and things, and that's needed. So it's not like just turn a blind eye to everything. We have to be able to be in the realm of participation with what's going on with our humanity and our collective without losing our sense of self. And in this case, what they're saying, we're talking about self with like the medium S. So not like self, like the really separate self, and not self with the big S, because we're not quite there yet, but the medium S, where the little self has become like, okay, I really am on a journey here. And now I know that I can use every experience to take me to my big S self. So how do we be that medium S self? How do we not just forget ourselves in the process of just ordinary life, never mind extraordinary experiences like what we have already started going through and what we will continue going through as we are moving through this collective. And so we need to understand every moment as a gateway. We need to understand there is actually never anything from the outside that is ultimately creating our disturbance on the inside. We can be stimulated by the outer experiences, but our reaction or response to something is dependent upon the karmic patterns that we are holding on the inside, which create a filter of consciousness that we see reality through. So therefore, no matter what, it is always the way to freedom, to understand that one's own response to something is one's own journey. Still, somebody's hitting you over the head, you darn well stop them. and maybe you have to press charges and everything. That's all true. We have to balance both of these things at the same time. We have to but we can't be caught in a resentment and an anger and a victimization. We're coming out of the victim. That's how we get re-empowered. That's how, I won't even say re-empowered, because that makes it sound like we're going back. And the angels have been very clear. We are not going back. We're plucking from some of the wisdoms of the past. We are definitely looking more clearly at some of the things that have happened in the past. We're going to see hidden wisdoms coming up, and we're going to see hidden ignorances as well, that, ignorance that gets revealed as well. But we're not going back. We're not going back to a place where it seemed like it was better. We're going forward. We're creating something new. We're not kind of just taking some stuff off and accepting something from the past. We are now coming into the consciousness soul, to the heaven and earth being, and we are creating something new. So it's very, very different. So we're moving forward in this way, and we just want to keep remembering that our disturbances, no matter what happens. So say, that you're in a place where it has a terrible earthquake and people are dying and it's horrible. And say you find out that somebody deliberately created that earthquake. Say you find this out. Well, look at how difficult that would be, not to be in like it's their fault, that your discomfort is their fault. That would be really hard. Yet, ultimately, we need to work ourselves to that place. Doesn't mean we can't be angry at them. Doesn't mean they can't be accountable. But ultimately, our disturbance, if we're holding, and I'm not talking about being able to snap your fingers and just make everything, go away. I'm talking about letting yourself go through a process. But if we are not accepting reality, it doesn't matter who creates it, seemingly creates it from the outside. Everything is part of the cosmic mystery. And so we need to have peace with that. And that's where we find our empowerment. And where we lose our empowerment, when we, do that thing where it's called like throwing your power away, is when we are in blame of somebody else for our circumstance. That even means external circumstance. I'm going to speak a little bit here about sort of the subtleties and complexities of karma. Karma is not at all, tit for tat. I'm not talking about that at all. I'm talking about karma as being the stories that you are living in and the ownership of the stories that you are living in them, that you are bringing them here as a wise being to transform. And so that wisdom body that you're bringing in is not, it's not a victim. Nobody else has caused it. Nobody else is to blame for it. And as soon as we get into that conditioning, because it's a huge conditioning, then we lose our power. So we're taking our power back by completely owning our karmic experience of life. From that place, trust me, and find it out for yourself. You will have more potency, more wisdom, and more love to share with any external experience that requires attention than you ever would if you were in a more victimized state and you were in the anger of the victim and the rage of the victim. The other really important point is that they speak about this mystery, and that they speak about it so beautifully. So I just want to find the exact part here. They said, first of all, don't be daunted by what you're seeing in front of you. It's big, and it's going to get bigger. And you're going to feel in the face of it, if you're really working hard on yourself, you're going to start to feel smaller, which feels opposite, because we're like, oh, we're empowering ourselves. We should feel bigger. But a smallness maybe, and most likely will be it sometimes, because that's what they're saying, and what you feel, because it means that you're actually getting closer to the gateway, closer to the doorway of the divine. And it is unfathomable. And yes, you are it, but yet you are it in an individuated package. And so it becomes this massive, massive thing. So as you get closer and closer, you actually can start to feel like you're smaller. And that can be disturbing. Like, why am I feeling smaller? What am I not doing? What did I miss? Whatever. Trust it. Bringing in the mystery is really a very big piece of this. It's like understanding it, that source energy is unfathomable, and it includes mystery. And they're speaking about the fact that here in this world of 3D and beyond to some degree, we have contracted and expansion energies. So if we're going to come into something that's really, really big, that's unfathomable, that's mysterious, that's so wonderful, something has to contract first. Something has to get really, really small first. Trust it. Trust it. Stop judging it. Come out of that old paradigm of judging. Of this year is all so much about overcoming any ideas about failure, yourself or anybody else's, that whole judging God, that all of those aspects, guilt, judge, all judging, failure, all those things. This is what we're clearing as a collective. So letting mystery be there. And they speak about this so beautifully. Allow your heart the incredible gift of including mystery as, I love this part, the perfection of your emotional and mental states as you step through this profound portal of reality. If you can go to your emotional state and your mental state and include mystery to be one of the answers, one of the solutions to any disturbance that you may be feeling there, it's going to completely open it. And not only that, it's rewriting and creating new circuits for the past, because in the past, everything had to be figured out. You had to have it all sorted out. You had to do it right in a particular way. Mystery was not part of it. Now, mystery doesn't mean that we don't have a response or we don't have an answer. It means something different. And each person really is, invited to walk that, because you'll feel it for yourself. Let mystery be this way. Let it be this way. And it will heal so many of the stories of feeling separate and the lack of safety. And this is so beautiful. And as you go through your deepened process of self-reflection, and then of course, that's going to lead to reflection on past experiences, you're clearing things out of the cells because you're making room for the greater light that you are now. So old memories are going to come, old experiences are going to come. You might start meeting people, that you haven't seen for years, because they need to trigger, you need to trigger each other to start to awaken some of the things that are stuck from the past. But understand that anything that's happened in the past where somebody has been part of your stories and they've shared with you their pain, which is what people do when they act in painful ways towards each other, understand that they were in their own way trying to live a life that did not include mystery. And so when you're not including mystery as part of your experience, then you're going to need to try to control things. And so in the desperate need to control, they acted in ways that were not guided by wisdom, love, and mystery. The invitation here is to just make a little list of the main players in your life that have been the ones that, that you've engaged in most of your pain stories with. Take a look at that story again, see it, and see that individual as somebody who has not invited mystery into the reality. You'll start to see the pain that they're in. You'll start to see the confusion that they're in and how they're acting from this place of just trying to control a circumstance, because that's all that they know how to do. That's all their pain knows how to do. It's trying to stop their pain by giving it to somebody else. This is one of the human confusions. And then, of course, as we take on the pain, we are also not including the mystery. And so this beautiful invitation into the mystery is so healing, so truly healing. And so that's really the essence of what they're speaking in all of the different ways. And they're saying that understand as well that the disturbances that you have as reactions to things right now are, as you're probably very aware, but certain things we can't hear too many times, part of genetic conditioning, part of ancestral carrying on ideas from ancestral lineages. And so letting ourselves live in that past is living in the past. It's not living in the new earth that we're going to. Respecting the ancestors, respecting the people that have gone before, respecting and letting the wisdom be, but not living in that past and not living in any of the conditioned responses to reality, anything that is fear-based in its nature, is what we're doing. This is what we are creating now. So just let yourself discover that place within you where you can find permission to live without the experience of forgetting and remembering. And let it, and understand it is a journey. Understand it is a journey. But because it's a journey and because it might take some time, and it may not, because this is about quantum awakening, and quantum has that in a blink of an eye experience. It can just be sometimes in the blink of an eye, all of a sudden, the whole thing gets rewritten. All of a sudden, you are living in the mystery and the mystic, remembering all the time. So try not to buy into getting frustrated or disappointed if you feel things are taking a while. Just trust the journey. Understand there is a profound wisdom guiding you, so profound that you can't even imagine. And it is guiding you in a way that is harmonious for you and your soul's path, and perhaps even other significant players that are around you. So just let it be, just be with it and savor each moment, savor each moment. And keep on looking for that place where you can discover where the permission for remembering lives. So, this is all about choice where we're at now. The timing that we're in is all about choice. So we're always talking, we often speak about this word permission, because when we don't have choice, it means somewhere underneath we don't have permission for it. It doesn't mean that the choice doesn't exist. It doesn't mean that we have to do something to create it. It means that somewhere underneath we don't have permission for it. So start to discover where your permission lives. Start to just, I'm giving myself permission to live in the remembering all the time. See what it brings up in you. Maybe when you say it the first time, you're like, I'm there. It's so amazing. And then contraction happens again. And then you say it again. And then, this next time you want to vomit. That might be what happens. It starts to bring up so much fear about living in that permission, because we are clearing. What is it when we clear trauma and we clear pain in this paradigm modality that we're in now rather than the past? It's a little bit different than it was. What we were doing then is that we were healing trauma and pain, making ourselves whole. What we're doing now is that we're healing or clearing trauma and pain. And it doesn't matter what the story is. What we're actually the most interested in is healing the fear of being in our fullness and in our light. That is part of that trauma and pain. Not so much about this person did that, that person did that, then this happened and that happened. It's not so much about that anymore. Now it's like, all this happened. And because of that, I'm frightened to be in my fullness. So that's what we're focusing on. We're releasing that which makes us believe that it is unsafe for us to be in our fullness. And as the last thing, because that unsafe word came in, and they did mention that earlier, by including mystery into our reality, into the perfection of our reality, that trauma of feeling unsafe gets healed very beautifully. Thank you for checking in. And as always, I invite you, I do these karmic readings. I call them core soul story journeys for individuals, as well as these kind of things that we do for the collective. So we're speaking directly to the angels on your behalf, finding out what your deepest core memory is that's creating the filter for your story, that's creating obstruction for you. And then very lovingly and gently, through many awarenesses and different techniques, we're starting to rewrite that story so that you become your radiant self. And if you're interested in joining that kind of experience, please feel free to contact me at my website, onlyloveisreal.love. I am a conscious intuitive. So if you come to a session with me, it's not like I leave my body and something else comes over. I say a prayer, I go into a state of meditation. I open myself up, and I also come deeper into the reality of the physical, because that's the way we're moving energy these days. And then I'm shown and heard, and I hear what the angels would like to speak to you. And the session is recorded. The recording is what I call a multidimensional healing tool. You could use this recording for years, and every time you listen to it, the angels are not working in time and space. They're with you all the time. And so they will start to infuse the words that you might have heard 500 times with a new meaning. And you'll start to get a new meaning that will just take you into a new dimensional realm, because they're coming from, an extremely lofty experience of the overview. They're seeing where we can be when we are no longer identified with the limitations that we've been identified with the past. They really are seeing that, and they just want to do nothing else but to help us become that. So I invite you to that. So much love. Blessed full moon.